And off we go again. Here in video 2, what we're going to be looking at is how to construct a confidence interval for a proportion. In this case, we're going to be taking the Michigan data and looking at what proportion of the cities are large cities, and then using that to construct a confidence interval for nationally what proportion of cities are large. All right, let's do it. The first thing you need to do is count the number of large cities. I noticed that the large cities are or the size of cities are here in column E. So what we're going to do is use something pretty nifty called the COUNTIF feature. So you count if, and you're going to give it a range. And that range is going to be from E6 to E348. That's just all of the values in this column right here. And then you're going to tell it what to look for. Let's come up here. So I'm going to hit a comma, and then I'm going to put in quotations. The letter L is what we're looking for. And it counts every time it sees the letter L in this column. Turns out that there are 55 L's. All right, pretty cool. So now our p hat is going to be equal to the number of large cities divided by the sample size. So there's our p hat. We're going to come over here. We're going to get our z-scores. Now we did t-scores in the last video, and the way that we're going to get the z-scores is basically the same game. The one thing that you are going to notice is different, here's an example, is that there's not going to be a degrees of freedom. So instead you're just going to hit norms inv, which means inverse normal, and then it will give you what you need. So here we go. I want the norms inv of the lower tail for 90%. So the lower tail would be 1 minus this number divided by 2. There's my value. I notice that it's negative. Uh-oh, don't like that it's negative. Put a negative in front. Solved. Copy that formula, paste it twice. We've got all of our z-scores good to go. These should look familiar to you. We're now going to calculate the margin of error. The way we go about that is by taking z and multiplying it by the square root of p hat, 1 minus p hat, divided by n. In the margin of error column, we hit equals. We choose the z-score that we want. We multiply by sqrt. I believe you have to type that multiplication symbol in. We want p hat multiplied by, again, gotta include the multiplication, 1 minus p hat divided by the sample size, which is the 343, not the 55, which gives us this margin of error, which means we can get a lower bound of p hat minus the margin of error, which means we can get an upper bound of p hat plus the margin of error. Now I want to copy all 3 of these columns down, but before I do that, I have to fix most of what we've got here. I'm fixing all of the p hats. Copy and paste. So 11% to 21% is a 99% confidence interval for the proportion of US cities that are large.